Hi, my name is Duffy Robbins, and I teach youth ministry at Eastern University in the suburbs of Philadelphia. Thanks so much for joining me today. I can still remember it was this beautiful summer afternoon. Me and the kids in my youth group were up on the White Mountains of New Hampshire. We were in this kind of plateau. This I think the technical name for it is a monadnock, this hunk of granite that just juts up out of the Earth's surface. And the locals referred to it as Square Ledge. And this particular day, we were up there on Square Ledge with the kids in my youth group. We'd been on a backpacking trip, and it was fantastic scenery. You could see over into Maine and up into the presidential peaks of New Hampshire, Washington, and Madison and Jefferson. But one of the reasons people love going to a place like Square Ledge is that it's a favorite by some of the locals for rock climbing. This particular afternoon, though, me and the kids in my youth group, we weren't going to actually climb up Square Ledge. We were going to rappel down Square Ledge. It's perfect for this because it has a sheer rock face. And so most of you are watching, you probably know what rappelling is. Rappelling is when you stand with your back to the edge of a cliff and then you fall backwards off of the cliff and you walk down the face of the rock. And obviously when you do that, you're tied into a safety rope, right? Otherwise you walk very fast. And so this particular afternoon, I explained to all the kids in the youth group, I said, now guys, to do a safe rappel, you're going to have to do something very, very counterintuitive. You're going to have to stand there with your back to the edge of the cliff. And then with your body straight, I want you to fall backward. Just fall back into thin air. Because you want to put tension in that safety rope so that it pulls your feet perpendicular to the face of the rock. And you can imagine that's sort of counterintuitive. It's counterinstinctive because when you're a baby, you learn to go, when you fall, you go feet first, right? So but the problem is if you go feet first down a cliff, that hurts your face and it's not good for your complexion. So I explained this to everybody in the youth group. We seemed everyone understand, and we are now ready to make our descent. I send two guys down first. I always send guys down first just to check the gear. But the first girl to go was a girl by the name of Haley. And I loved Haley because whatever Haley did, she just did it 110%. She was just like gung-ho, like Haley, yeah. And she'd been taking steroids for 2 years, but she's pumped, she's ready. So Haley gets over the cliff, we get her tied in, and I said, all right, Haley, are you ready for this? And there's climbing kind of belt around her waist there, a little carabiner, a little silver oval connected to another silver oval in the shape of a figure 8. So we can thread the rope through it, it'll slow her descent. I said, you ready to do this, Haley? And she goes, yes. But as soon as she says yes, this gust of wind blows up over the ledge of the cliff, blows her hair in front of her face, blows on her neck, blows on her back, and it just dawns on her, there's nothing back there. And all of a sudden, her little lips just start quivering. And I said, Haley, she just freaks out. I said, Haley, are you sure you want to do this? And she goes, yes, it'll be fun. Kind of the way I think maybe Custer's men said right before the charge. And I said, okay, all right, Haley, let's do this. So she, sure enough, standing there on the edge of the cliff, I give her the final command. She's now literally hanging there by the balls of her feet on the lip of this ledge. And I say, you may descend. And Haley being Haley, she descends with such gusto. She does an amazing job of falling backwards. The problem was when she fell backwards, her feet flipped up like that. So that all of a sudden, Haley's hanging upside down, several hundred feet in the air, and you could just tell this bothered her. And it bothered the kids in our youth group because all they could see were Haley's feet, and they were hoping they were connected to something. It wasn't that dangerous, right, because we have her on the safety rope, so I go over the edge of the cliff, explain to her the gospel, and bring her back up. But here was the interesting part about the entire little episode. We all finished our climbing that day. We went back to the campsite, and Haley put on some dry pants. And we were sitting that night around the fire, and I was doing a very youth pastor kind of thing. I'm going, okay, guys, I want to know one word that kind of captures what happened with you today on the cliff and how it maybe captures where you think you are right now and what you're learning about God and your relationship with God. And of course, the very first of the students to raise her hand was Haley. And just everybody's like, you know, like, what is she going to say? And I kind of figured her word was going to be lawsuit. But what she said was, my word is faith. And I said, talk about that. She said, well, you know what? All my life I've grown up around people who talk about faith in God. But today was the first time in my life I realized what it really means to have faith in God. And I thought, Haley, me too. But actually what she was saying, I think, was very profound. And it sort of helped me to gain an insight as a youth pastor that I've never forgotten. You know, a lot of times in youth ministry land, we talk about how we want youth groups to be a safe place. You often hear this, you know, let's make sure we create a safe place for kids. I get that. I understand that. I want youth groups to be a safe place. But what I began to realize that night, and I've seen it through the years, is that people almost never discover God in places of safety. The most of the time when we have a genuine encounter with God, it's in a place of vulnerability. It's in a place of risk. I can still remember we're going to go on a mission trip to Haiti, and one of the parents said, well, can you guarantee that our kids are not going to get sick down there? What are you going to do? I said, ma'am, I can almost guarantee you they will get sick down there. I've been there enough, I can tell you. And she said, well, my daughter's not going to go. And I didn't try to argue with her or anything. I said, well, we're going to miss her. I love having her with us, but if that's your decision. I can still remember, fast forward, we're down there in Port-au-Prince in this little village just outside of town, a little place called Bolos. And one of the guys in my group is laying there in his bunk, and he's just racked with dysentery. He got, cramps, and it's just miserable, and it's hot. And I remember him asking me to pray for him and pray with him. And as I was holding his hand there and he was praying, I thought to myself, this guy, he was a great guy, great family, lots of friends at school, kind of grew up in church and stuff. The problem, though, with all that is when you have all that stuff going for you, you almost kind of feel like you don't need God. And I was thinking in that moment about, here's this guy in a place of tremendous pain. It wasn't going to last, but it felt like it was going to last forever. And here's this guy who was praying earnestly to God. And it made me think about this young woman who had been kept back at home. And I thought, yes, her parents kept her safe, but it's quite possible they protected her from an encounter with God. I remember that line, in Chronicles of Narnia when the children came into Narnia the very first time and they met Mr. and Mrs. Beaver, and they wanted to know, is Aslan, the lion, is Aslan safe? And Mr. Beaver said, no, dearie, he's not safe, but he's good. One of the ways that you and I can help our young people encounter God, even though it seems counterintuitive, even though sometimes it feels risky, because it is risky, is by backing them up to those dangerous places in life. Now, for some kids, that might literally be rock climbing. It might be whitewater rafting. It might be saying, hey, I want to ask you to tell your story in youth group. And they go, I don't know if I can do that. And you go, I don't either. But why don't you fall back in the arms of God and let's see if he'll catch you. Let's see what happens. Or maybe it's stepping up in some sort of leadership role. But whatever it is with the kids, I want to encourage you. Sure, make your youth group a place that's safe for kids to struggle. Make it a place that's safe for kids to doubt and to bring their questions and to be real. But don't work so hard to make youth group a safe place that you make it this place where they probably really won't ever need to have a genuine, authentic encounter with God. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks for your ministry.